someone asked me to talk about The Shining and what I thought about it. So here's what I think about The Shining, okay? So my experience with The Shining is I went to film school, college, and was taught by Academy members that The Shining is a masterpiece of film, a masterpiece of cinematography, editing, that it was created by it was a novel from Stephen King, adapted to the film by director Stanley Kubrick, the same Kubrick who was attached to the moon landing footage and things like that. And in college they teach you that he's a genius, that he's really smart, and that he was a truth teller, a rebel, that he was a Hollywood outsider, that he was killed because he may have been killed because of what he did, and he didn't get along with the establishment. And I'm here to tell you that that's just a bunch of lies. I don't believe that at all, and here's why, okay? Maybe you know that it's fake. Maybe in your heart you know that a man named Stanley Kubrick never existed, that it's just a figurehead that represents a corporation, that represents the cabal. The cabal put that film out. The cabal put The Shining out, okay? And they created this cuddly, chubby character to kind of spearhead everything. And was he on set directing? Yeah, you bet, because that's how the illusion is created, okay? There was a physical person, that walked around presenting as Stanley Kubrick. Yes, there was. I don't want to get into the weeds too much about that because I want to talk about just what my experiences are and how I feel about The Shining. So I told you, that I studied it in film school, and they teach you everything that the mainstream, talks about. The symbology, the occult symbology, the editing, what was Wendy really there? Was she not really there? Was she just a figment of his imagination? Was he crazy? Was he demon possessed? Was he a normal guy until he walked into the hotel? Was it a real family that went into the hotel and then got defiled? What really happened in that story? There's all these things, that they talk about ad nauseum. But one thing that I can tell years now that I look back on is this reverence, okay? It's the reverence that should make you suspicious. The fact that Hollywood reveres this character. He's revered. So after film school, my next experience with The Shining was, because I didn't watch it. I mean, when you watch it 100 times, you're not going to go back and watch it for fun. It's like, I just felt like I had, talked about it ad nauseum, and so here I am talking about it. And I'm actually glad, because it is poignant to go back and say, okay, well, this is what I thought about it back then, thought it was a masterpiece. Now, how do I see it? Now I see it as a production by the cabal, one that they are very proud of, and one that they want to keep reminding you of. And there's things in there that they want to keep reminding people of. That's why they keep bringing it to the forefront. That's why it was redone. That's why they do all these exhibits. So years later when I was living in Orange County, I actually drove up to LA for this exhibit, the Stanley Kubrick exhibit. And that was my next experience with The Shining. Decades later, after I was no longer working in the LA Hollywood film industry, I came back, and every time back then I would come back to LA, I would get hives. I just would get this horrible, creeping feeling, as you're driving into the city, that some type of weird enchantment is being placed upon you. It's very weird. Only people that live in LA who are woke, who've been around, can understand. But you get it, right? I mean, it's like you drive into the city and there's this cloud. But anyway, I went there with my significant other, and I went to the LACMA exhibit for Kubrick. And when you walk in, it confirms everything I just said. When you walk in, it's like the church of Kubrick. It is like the temple of Kubrick. This entire exhibit was formulated and designed and presented as though it were presenting you with some kind of relics oh, these are so sacred. Look at this phone from the movie. They've backlit it onto this box, and it's like sitting there like the idol from Indiana Jones. Ah! And it's like there in this gallery, and people are walking up looking at the phone from Shining. Oh my gosh. And then on an opposite wall, the entire wall is an installation art piece where they've got a projector up and they're playing scenes from The Shining. You know, some are in slow motion, some are in normal time, some are in black and white, some are in like an infrared color. Like all these things being thrown at you inside the Temple of Kubrick. There's pages of scripts that they've taken, and hopefully you can still hear me. There's pages of scripts that they have taken and mounted onto the wall, like pages from the Apocrypha, you know, something on that level, from the Necronomicon. And people are like standing around, you know, looking and oohing and eyeing. Oh my gosh, this is page 205 from the script. Oh. And the whole time I was walking through these galleries, I was on my woke journey, but I was not boss level woke. Like I was further along, but I didn't know that Stanley Kubrick was a fake character at that point. I did not. So what I thought, I remember specifically, what I thought was, gosh, Hollywood lied. They really do love this guy. He's not a rebel, and he's very much accepted. He was not an outcast. He wasn't killed. Okay, this guy wasn't killed by anybody. Okay, because he was never alive to begin with. And if you even just look logically at it, he was never despised. Like, they don't give you 6-7 galleries at LACMA and invite the Hollywood royalty to come and view pages from your... I mean, how many exhibits do you know where people have taken pages from like a script and hung it on the wall and framed it and backlit it and taken like props from a movie and like backlit it and basically been like showing it to people like that? When was the last time you saw an exhibit like that? Not too often. I mean, you'll see one for Pink Floyd. You'll see one for Pink Floyd that's going around right now. That one I definitely want to see. If you're in a city that's showing the Pink Floyd exhibit, get over there, because you're going to be like, whoa. Another temple, right? Another temple to these items, right? But anyway, this LACMA exhibit was like the Church of Kubrick, and it was designed that way. And it just made me realize at that moment, like, all these stories where people are like, oh, this person spoke out and they got killed. It's it's just a lie. They're just lying to you. They're just toying with you. They're just another story just to get your blood up and pumping, thinking that this guy's on your side. When he never even existed in the first place. And then look how he looks just like, they're just totally mocking you. Us. They're mocking us, okay? Because I'm on your team. But basically, he looks exactly like that Lord of the Rings dude. Put them together in a collage. It's like the same, same physical characteristics. It's like they're like, here's the fake director character. We're gonna put him above everything. Even Robert Zemeckis looked like this, and then of course they got rid of him, because they didn't want anybody asking him about Back to the Future in 2023. He had to be dead. He had to be gone. These people are so predictable now. Once you start waking up to how they work and what they do and how they operate, it's like now you can predict. Like, yep, that person's gonna die soon. That person's going to exit the world stage. You can just smell it. You're like, I can just smell you're on your way out. But to wrap up my conversation about The Shining, the exhibit at LACMA is an eye-opening show and tell, basically, and what happened there was I actually ran into J.J. Abrams when I was walking between galleries. And I stopped and I turned and I looked at him, and he actually stopped and turned back and looked at me, but he wasn't really, I don't think he was looking at me. He was looking at the projector behind me. But I looked him in the eyes, and I remember feeling, oh, yeah, there's JJ. That makes sense. He must also revere Kubrick. And yeah, interesting that they would have JJ show up there on a busy Saturday when he could easily get a private showing Like, why show up, JJ, in the middle of the afternoon in LACMA on Saturday where all the peasants are running around, where you could barely get, next to the prop phone without having to, wait in line? Why would you do that, JJ? Maybe because JJ's not a real character either. Maybe because they deliberately had him walking around so that people would go, oh my gosh, guess who I saw at the Kubrick exhibit? Guess who I saw? I saw J.J. Abrams. Oh my God. And who is J.J. Abrams? Oh, he's another one. All the Star Trek propaganda, all that stuff. He's an expert in the Star Wars propaganda, all that mind control crap. And here he is giving reverence to the Church of Kubrick at the LACMA. That says everything you need to know. So next time somebody tells you, oh, The Shining was like this truth bomb. No, I want you to just be like, I want you to just red pill that person right then and there. I want you to just look at them and go, friend, Kubrick never existed. It's just a cabal production. And it's all just meant to F with your mind. That's what it is. That's what The Shining is. Notice how many people are on this lifetime carousel talking about The Shining. And do they get anywhere? No, they don't get anywhere. They talk about it at length, ad nauseum. They talk about this, they talk about that, they go blah, 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 blah. The twins, the blood, the cans of tomato. What's the meaning behind the cans of tomato? Somebody, and the other guy, and the elevator closing, and the blood, and the hotel rooms, and how many candles on the candelabra? And all they do for years is just talk about that, and they go in circles, and that's what they want you to do. They're like, here's this fun movie. I want you to get lost. We want you to get lost in it. We're going to give you this character, Kubrick, and we're just going to have everybody just hang out there, and everyone's consciousness level is just going to stay right at the low level, and they're just going to talk about The Shining forever, when it really just doesn't mean crap. It's just a movie from Team Evil about evil stuff. It's about a man who becomes possessed by the devil. And he ends up trying to kill his family. And he gets stopped from killing them. Now, that's something they'll never tell you in film school. They don't talk about that in film theory class. That he tries to kill his family and he's prevented. He's stopped from killing them. He's not allowed to kill the boy. He's not allowed to kill his wife. Even though he's stronger than them, faster than them, demon-possessed, he's got an axe. He's got all these weapons. Does he kill them? No. He doesn't succeed. That's the story that other people should really be paying attention to when they watch The Shining, is that it's about good and evil, guys. Team evil versus team righteous. And, of course, the Cabal wrote a bunch of, ridiculous, horrible sequels about The Shining after that. Dr. Sleep and all these other things. It's just stupid nonsense. But this movie story basically is just about what they don't want to tell you is that it's about goodness, and that the boy was innocent and the wife was innocent and the husband was not, and he had a dark soul, and it became defiled because they went to this place that was isolated and demons took over. And that's basically the story. It's just a man becomes possessed by demons. And then the demons try to kill the good people in his family, and they're prevented from doing so. He's prevented from doing so. In the process of trying to kill them, he dies. He literally dies. And why? Because goodness cannot die. Goodness never dies. And that's what The Shining is about. That ultimately, no matter how vicious, no matter how violent, no matter how bad it gets, evil is not going to be able to destroy goodness. And that movie, you should take it with a grain of salt. It's just Hollywood playing with you. And Kubrick, again, was not a rebel. He was loved by the Cabal. And you'll see that. Nobody gets an exhibit at LACMA unless you're loved, okay? Mapplethorpe got an exhibit. It wasn't even a fraction of the size of this Kubrick exhibit. Not even, it was like a room, okay, versus what this exhibit looked like for Kubrick. And if I could just explain it to you, you would see the magnificence of this exhibit and see that, what you really don't listen to what they're telling you. Look at what they do. Look at what they do. Look at who they prop up. Those characters, okay? That's what you should be suspicious of. And keep critical thinking always. Cheers, friends.